seems to work perfect. The only thing unique about the run, which was recorded a 5:68 quick time, is the nose-over attitude that Wellman seems to always land with.
That's a characteristic of that Taurus truck. And here is a characteristic of a loose cannon. This is Colt Cobra in the snakebite truck. Now, he gets out of control right here, hits a car that's parked off course, runs over that junker, and gets her woed just before he hits a service shed down there. Oh, there's why. A full moon. Yeah. A full moon over eastern Ohio. That explains that Torres with a bye by being the first qualifier. No problem against Nightmare in round one. Also in round one, we'll have Bigfoot 8, the third quick qualifier against Clydesdale. Carolina Crusher matches up against Bad Medicine. And also we'll find Micro Machine and Nightlife and King Crunch against the Snakebite. Round one competition here from Canfield Fairgrounds, and there is a look at Nightmare.
Gary, it's kind of interesting. Now, Steve Hess will be driving the Nightmare. He's out of Indiana. This is his turf. He would love to do good here, but this truck has been around for a long time. He goes up against John Moore, no problem. If there has to be two guys in this sport that are highly respected, got to be these two fellas. They've gone at each other tooth and nail for years and years, and they both run the old-style trucks. This could be an awfully good close race tonight. I don't think we got tonight's winner in this race, but this is going to be a good race.
Two different philosophies, though. We have the short wheelbase Ford Bronco with John Moore, the pickup truck type configuration for Steve Hess. And look at this. Moore picks off the win. Moore has it no problem by a fender over Steve Hess.
Hess took just a little bit of a bounce in no man's land, and that let Moore plant the horsepower, go on and take the win. But it was a good close race. The replay is going to show you right now. When they get to no man's land, Hess on the far side takes a goofy bounce, if you will, right there, see. That's what
he pulls out with the horsepower right there, takes the victory by a nose, and here's John Moore with Army Armstrong.
John Moore, anytime you go against Steve Hess, he's a bear.
Yeah, that's Steve with that GMC, that Nightmare truck. Hardest run I've had all weekend. I really enjoyed it. He puts on a good run, really ran hard. We had a good race.
Looks like if Bigfoot makes it through the next round, you might wind up with him. Does that bother you at all?
No, it doesn't bother me at all. I had a good run that time. Steve made me work hard and get a good run, so we'll just take them as they come.
Okay, let's watch this next race and see who you're going to be going up against. Good luck to you.
Sure to appreciate it. Thank you.
Next matchup, there he is, Andy Brass and Bigfoot 8. Perhaps a surprise that he was not the fast qualifier this evening. He was third quick on the grid. He's out of St. Louis, Missouri, and that's Bob Chandler. Bigfoot 8, the two-frame truck, and he goes up against the pink Clydesdale. This is Bennett Clark. Clark, the guy with the black hat and the handlebar mustache out of Georgia. Bennett Clark used to be a bull rider on a rodeo circuit, so bucking and bronking is not new to him, but he is in a natural transition.
Yeah, he's in a lane that, remember a moment ago, Steve Hess took a strange bounce to far lane. Let's see what happens to Bennett Clark over there. Oh, okay.
Well, he does a wheel stand through no man's land, and there's no contest because Bigfoot 8 picks up the victory. He will advance, and Bennett Clark will head back to that trailer for a long haul back to Georgia.
Looked like Bennett Clark was having a fueling problem with the engine. You notice the flames coming out, but what I was looking for was a common denominator in the far lane. Watch the way they go up the first ramp. The way they come off of that ramp is getting them in trouble. Happened to Hess and it happened to Clark.
Well, you're speaking of an old suspension versus a new suspension.
You're exactly right. But the finish line is the same distance away for both of them, though, Gary.
And here's a look at Wayne Smozanik in Nightlife. He bought this truck from Dave Wyzorek. And there's a look at Wayne. He's up from Jupiter, Florida.
He's an old drag racer. Comes into the sport. We're glad to have him in the sport. He thinks he could be a player, but who does he go up against? The Micro Machine himself, one of the Breen boys racing toys out of Eldon, Missouri. It'll be John Breen.
Army, you talk about Wayne Smozanik coming out of drag racing. He will have to cut a good light right here if he wants to beat the Micro Machine.
Yeah, but you're exactly right. But there's another element to this sport. Not only cutting a good light, bouncing good.
Oh, he didn't. Now, trouble over there in the far lane, and you talk about a common denominator. There may be a problem with that far lane. All the drivers so far are getting very out of shape. They're bouncing a lot.
And the problem comes when you're coming off the first jump, and they're not all bouncing the same way. Smozanik comes off. He bounces rear up. Right in front of him, Clydesdale was nose up. So, see the rear take the bounce? There's something in that lane. They're catching the back wheel on the cars when they're coming down, I believe. But Breen, he goes to the next round, no problem. But in the next round, everybody can't run out of the right lane. Somebody's going to have to go to that left lane.
And now we take a look at Scott Stevens, the Texan in the King Crunch Auto Value truck. And he'll go up against, well, look at this thing. This, the aftermath, the ramifications of getting upside down. This is what happened yesterday. Now watch this run. He already has lost the doghouse on the front of that truck. And that's why they're built with roll cages.
Exactly. The chassis just completely unloaded on him. He and his crew chief, Tracy Smart, they knew the truck was going over as soon as it left the start line. Scott said he could just feel it. The red light bandit. Yeah, you wonder about the red light. You notice Bigfoot has it. So does Colt Cobra. That shows the electrical system in the truck is complete. If that light is not on, when you look at it from the front, that means there's an electrical problem somewhere. Speaking of problems, Scott Stevens is starting this race with a lot of problems.
Well, that's an open-air buggy right now, and it looks like he's going to pull out the victory. Yes, he does. Oh, the snake bite had him. Snake bite had him.
Boy, Scott is excited. He needed that run. It's like he's been punched in the nose so many times this year by punching. Yeah, exactly. To come back and to make a straight run is great, but to make a straight run and to put this other guy on a trailer, you can just feel it. Scott Stevens may have just turned his luck around in Canfield, Ohio.
He's down so many times this season, but he's never even thought about giving up. He keeps coming back, trying harder. Here's a look at Gary Porter, the Carolina Crusher. Wadesboro, North Carolina, the hometown of this veteran. He has certainly been on a roll this season.
Oh, man, I tell you, talking a moment ago about Scott Stevens, another red light you notice coming in these windows. We keep talking about the technology. Again, that red light you see in the windshield at night racing indicates that the electrical system is complete. On this particular truck, a Van Loo's, the Dodge, his light is located in the grill. That's important because, remember, Gary, there's a kill switch in these trucks in case they get out of shape. You've got to have a complete electrical circuit to make it work.
Van Medicine, the Carolina Crusher. We're in Canfield, Ohio, and this should be the Crusher all the way.
Man, Porter leaves that line like a rocket. Again, in the good lane.
Porter has always had the horsepower. He's always done well on the long outdoor tracks, but now he's learning to dial the chassis, and he's making that chassis work to get the horsepower to the track.
What he's done, he's made a lot of inroads in the field of his transmission. He's teamed up with somebody. I don't know who it is, but he leaves that line just like a pro stocker in a drag race.
Well, that wraps up round one competition as we eavesdrop on Lauren Bixler, the starter. We're coming back to Canfield, Ohio for round two. It is a cool night, but the fans don't seem to mind. Good crowd on hand here at the Canfield Fairgrounds as we are getting ready now for round two competition.
Gary, one thing interesting about round two, all the winners from round one came out of the right lane. Can't do that this time.
Taurus goes up against No Problem. Also in round two, we'll have Bigfoot 8, Andy Brass against Gary Porter, the Carolina Crusher. Micro Machine faces off against King Crunch and Scott Stevens.
Well, Gary, we're going to start this round off with Taurus coming out, and this is why qualifying is so important. We have a definite good lane and a bad lane, and look where Taurus is going. He's quick qualifier for this round. He's going to the good lane, and don't blame him one bit, do you?
He sticks John Moore, and No Problem, but that's the left lane. The far lane has created some problems this evening here in Canfield. Look there at the light as Lauren Bixler checks with both drivers. He turns them loose. It's a good start for No Problem, but here comes the horsepower of Jack Willman Sr. That's what it was. Horsepower in no man's land.
Man, that qualifying early in the evening is going to be so important. Remember, they qualified in daylight. The horsepower was different. Taurus has done what he had to do. He did it in the right lane. Now, John Moore runs good. He leaves with him, but again, look at the bounce.
Well, Army Taurus is turning out the horsepower, but that truck just does not sound quite right. Let's check in with Jack Willman Sr.
Jack, I tell you, the motor just doesn't sound like it's making the power it needs to be. Got a little flutter in there.
Yes, Army. We was only running on 7 cylinders at the one run, and we went over there and worked on it and found the problem, and we're ready to give them a heck.
So you were walking wounded a minute ago, but you're ready to go in the next round?
That's correct, Army.
Okay, good luck to you.
Thank you.